Hello, we are live. Happy Tuesday. Come on in, come on in. All right, so today we are going to be talking about what to do when the opposite of your desire materializes. And this is going to be for someone who has been in the law of assumption, who has been manifesting, materializing, who is in the self-concept community, or who has worked on self-concept. You don't have to be in the community per se, but you have to have some familiarity on what I teach so that you can actually sort of understand where I'm coming from with this particular live. You do have to be in a more intermediate to advanced level to understand sort of like just the breakdown of what I'm going to go through today. So if you are someone who is just initiating yourself into the law of assumption or self-concept and still just, at the beginning phases of your journey, this might be a little too intermediate, but let's just go through the video and you could be the one to determine what that is for you, what that looks like for you. So first off, I'm so glad to be live here today. For those of you who are interested or just considering working with me in a one-on-one capacity, I did say that my Zoom meetings are not available on my previous live, but I meant to say my consult. So my consultations are currently offline for the holiday season, but if you are really feeling pulled and compelled to work with me in a one-on-one capacity for 9 weeks this year before 2024, let's really get us in the calendar so that we can discuss how we are going to actually shift you into a higher self-concept, into your desire embodiment, and of course materializing desire on a consistent, quicker basis, because materializing desire is instant. So let's get into this video. So I do want to talk about the opposition and your awareness to what you're labeling as the opposite in your reality. So when we make assumptions, those assumptions, like we call assumptions in this community, or I like to relate assumptions to beliefs and knowings. So when you have an assumption about a particular thing, a particular opposition, a separation, it often goes back to your false belief and what your false belief is telling you, that you are putting meaning to this, that is attaching your meaning to this particular reality or experience that you're registering as opposition. So it's not necessarily set in stone in opposition. You're just taking whatever you see in front of you as the version of yourself that does not have this desire. And so it's going to be experienced or materialized as an experience that you do not have what it is that you want. So this is very much related to your self-concept, very much related to what you believe about yourself, very much related to what your assumptions are about you. Because if you knew that you were just the entire embodiment of your desire, you would not have any conscious awareness of this opposition. Definitely keep that in mind, that if you are noticing separation or opposition in your reality and you're experiencing that on a consistent basis and you're noticing a pattern, it's probably because you have not yet worked on your self-concept and you shifting into the version of yourself that is thinking from your desire versus thinking from wanting your desire. So again, there's a completely different feeling states, sets of beliefs, sets of thoughts, sets of feeling states when, I'm not sure if I mentioned that already, but when you are the version of yourself that gets to think from your desire, think from already having this desire. So desire is not separate from you. There is nothing out there. I like to talk about the everyone is you pushed out concept, especially if you are in the intermediate / or advanced level in your manifestations, and you are just looking for a bit of clarity as far as what is showing up for you right now in terms of what you want to materialize, and what you're experiencing versus what you want to materialize. So you're probably at the stage right now where you have had results, but you have not been able to anchor down on what is creating those results and what needs to happen in order to continuously, sustainably create those materialized results. So this is more, talking about your self-concept, of course, talking about how you're regulated, and I'll get to that in a minute, but it's more about what is it that is what are you seeing that you're not believing in? Because if you are seeing and you're imagining yourself in this desire and you want to be embodied in this desire, it should not matter what you see outside. It should very much matter what you see inside and what you experience inside, what you believe inside, and what you're feeling on the inside, so that reality could reflect that back to you. So instead of looking out and putting meaning to what you see in the external reality, really start to use this as feedback to attune back to yourself, tune back into your feeling states, to attune back into your thought patterns, right? And your thought patterns and your inner self dialogue is going to show and reveal a lot to you, especially if you've gotten to a place where you have worked on your emotional self-regulation. And you tend to be frustrated, but not as much. Like you're frustrated sometimes with just the orientation of things, but you are regulated enough to not react to the circumstances, the opposition that is presented in front of you. And instead, that you have to direct focus from the external reality to what is going on the inside. Because if you were focusing on, and this is to give you compassion, of course, but if you were already focusing on being the version of yourself that already had this desire, you would not have any awareness, any conscious awareness of anything that is not that in your experience. And I know that's difficult to grasp sometimes, because when you are in a reality that feels real, because I am touching my arm and I feel myself touching my arm, or I'm holding this mouse, like things actually feel and seem real because we are 3D humans, right? But when you are talking or just on this journey of self-concept and manifestation, you want to really redirect focus on your inward worlds, your inner world. I said inward world, but I meant to say inner world. It's the same idea, whatever. But you want to get more attuned to that, because when you are creating realities, and I know that this is, something that I have talked about in terms of creating, you're not necessarily creating a version of yourself that already has. You're simply shifting into the version of yourself that already has. So the creation aspect really comes down to me, what creation means to me is the imagination aspect. So the imaginal acts, the imaginal experiences, the imaginal feeling states, the inner self dialogue, so on and so forth. So that's what you are creating, especially if you are newly into the space where you want to sustain and maintain your consistent materializing of desire. But at the same time, you want to be able to give yourself that compassion, that patience, that inner knowing that whatever you see in front of you is a mirrored reflection of your old self-concepts, your old belief systems, your old just thought patterns, and your inner self-dialogue. So what you're reacting to is pretty much old. Like it's old, it's outdated, and the more you react to it in your 3D and call it opposition, the more that you're going to experience this opposition, the separation, and the false belief. So it's kind of like the cycle that you're noticing. So if you're noticing this cycle, then again, if you're taking it as feedback, then you would know that there is something in your conscious awareness that you're not yet aware of, that you can be, again, consciously aware of, and then shift to where you need to be in order to be in the version of yourself and shift into the version of yourself that already has your desire. And so there are a few things that you might want to do in order to really make this shift into the version of yourself that already has your desire, no matter what is showing up in front of you, because that is all, again, old self-concept, old false beliefs materializing as your reality. Again, like when you are creating from a space of imagination and imaginal acts and being in the version of yourself that is thinking from your desire, you're essentially using the 3D version of yourself, because this is very spiritual, this is very metaphysical. So always remember that creation is done. This is all just energy, and multiple versions of you already exist, including the version of yourself that gets to enjoy your desire. So why not shift into the version of yourself that is embodied already, that is already in the fulfillment, this is the wish fulfilled, that is already experiencing all the little things, because you've decided that you are the version of yourself that only gets to think and speak to yourself in your inner self dialogue as the version of yourself that already has this desire. So again, 3 things that I want you to really look into as far as how you're going about your manifestation process, filling in the gaps, really looking at your blind spots in a more clear, defined way, because unless you really anchor in on your conscious awareness on how this is actually materializing, you cannot materialize something different, because you're always going to react to the opposition, the separation, the false belief. So here are just 3 ways, and again, this is like the manifestation process that I know is proven, that I've done multiple times, that I have been able to teach to my clients and just build that sustainable, consistent materializing of the results time and time again. So this is definitely proven, and you could tell just by looking at my Instagram page, if you have to go back a few when I was just doing lifestyle stuff, it is very easy, and you have to decide that this process gets to be easy for you. So instead of figuring out what is going on and how you need to react to this opposition, just remove your conscious awareness of this opposition and go into yourself. So this is what you need to do. You need to really get into your emotional self-regulation. And of course that was going to be brought up because, boom, emotional self-regulation is like the peanut butter to your jelly, the jelly to your peanut butter. Like without it, you don't have the full sandwich. That's the best way that I could describe emotional self-regulation, because this is really going to help you pivot and really quantum leap into all the versions of yourself that already have what it is that you want, that are already all the versions of yourself that are already enjoying this desire time and time again, and just also enjoying all of the freedoms and the wealths, but just like the freedom of already having everything that you want, because you are able to give that to yourself on an emotional stability, security, safety level. You want to get emotionally self-regulated. The other point that you want to really get through thoroughly and really anchor in on is your opposition. Where's the opposition coming from? Is it coming from your past experiences? Is it coming from what you've been taught? Is it coming from what you've seen and what you do not want to implement? And you'll find that when you are experiencing opposition, it's the very thing that you do not want to experience on a conscious level, but because you're not fully aware of what the false belief is, that's what is tripping you up and in a way splitting your energy from the version of yourself that already has this desire and the version of yourself that does not have this desire. So that's why you're also maybe getting mixed results. You're getting hot and cold results. You're getting some of what you want because you have not fully decided to let go of that false belief and fully shift into the version of yourself that is fully embodied and anchored in your desire. Next is you want to make sure that you are in full capacity of your imaginal experiences, that you are in complete control of really creating a reality of yourself, a reality with yourself in it that is experiencing all of your desires. And again, these are from methods of inner self dialogue, affirmations, journaling, scripting, ask affirmations, which is, I feel like, is genius when you are conflicted, especially in your conscious awareness. And how to really put that to rest is like by a series of, well, why am I so wealthy? Why am I so emotionally free? Why am I so amazingly self-regulated? It is asking you questions from a version of yourself that already has your desire, and therefore your conscious mind is going to pivot from not like proving your question right or wrong into the version of yourself that is consciously aware of you materializing and experiencing the materializing of this affirmation, of this reality. So it's like tricking your mind on a conscious level, but again, you want to really go down the process one by one in order to get to those imaginal states, especially if you want to sustain this version of yourself on a consistent, sustainable basis. This is what you do. So you get emotionally self-regulated, you get anchored in your desires and your aligned beliefs, and then you move on to your imaginal experiences. And through your imaginal experiences, you're going to tap into the version of yourself again that is emotionally embodied in the feeling states, in this higher self-consciousness, higher self-awareness. So you want to build up your self-concept and your identity in a sense, right? So all of this opposition, all of this stuff does not exist. If you haven't been told that, or you haven't gotten the clue since the beginning of this live, just know that right now it all does not exist. And what you have to do is get back into the version of yourself that is focused on purely yourself, your imagination, your beliefs, your inner self-dialogue, and your regulation. So that's what I want to share with you today, and I intend that this was an amazing live that was packed with a whole lot of gems, as they normally are usually. And I look forward to hearing from you again if you are interested in working with me on a one-on-one capacity, where we work through your manifestation process gaps, your blind spots, just what you're unable to see, but what you're consciously able to notice in terms of patterns. And you are actually farther along than you think when you notice these patterns that you no longer want to experience. And I know it's frustrating, but this would be the perfect time to reach out to me and really discuss how we can work well together on a one-on-one capacity. Of course, just to end the 2023 year with a boom and gracefully materialize desire for you in 2024, again with ease. It's time to send me a DM and let's get on a call. So I again intend that this was 100% so good. And if you do need to come back to this to just relay some notes, or just kind of, note down what the most important points of this live was, definitely feel free to do that. And on that note, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next live. Cheers.